For place 6 tonight, we welcome Sam Osemene and Sheryl Cole. Sam will go first with 2-minute speech, and then Sheryl will go with her 2-minute speech, and then we will do a set of questions for Sam Osemene, and then a set of questions for Sheryl Cole. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. How is everybody doing? How y'all doing? Thanks for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Sam Osemene. People call me Osemene Sam. It's good for me. It works. I've lived in Austin for almost 20 years. I went to school here at the University of Texas, and I studied government. Before that, I was in the Navy in Long Beach, California, and I came back to Austin to finish my school. And currently, I teach government at Austin Community College. And I'm married. I've been married for 9 years. I have 2 daughters, twin girls. So they keep me busy when I go home at night. So, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm running for city council because I believe we need to change direction. The way we are going, our government is not listening to us, and we need to change that. Like I said, every week I teach my students, if your government is not working for you, the only option is to vote them out. So we have a new idea, a new sense of direction. That's why I'm in this race. It's not about me, it's not about Councilmember Cole, it's about the future. What type of city are we going to give our children and our grandkids? Think about it. I like to give this city to my 2 daughters better than I found this city when I came here to go to school. But the way we are going, they call it smart growth. I call it dumb growth. We need to think about it. So moving too fast, and that's why I'm running for city council. I need your support. If you need someone that will listen to you, will be open to you, and be accountable, I'm your candidate. So please support me, and it's going to be tough. Trust me, it's a tough race. That's why I'm here. But with your support, we can get it done. So please, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about semantics, it's about reality. I need your support. Thanks a lot.
Hello, my name is Sheryl Cole. I've been a resident of East Austin for the past 25 years, and I have had the privilege of serving you for the past 3 years on Austin City Council. I am married with 2 kids at home and 1 gone, and we're grateful for the one that's gone. I met my husband at the University of Texas at Austin, where I came and majored in accounting, and then he went to law school, and I followed him to law school, and then he got out of law school, and I practiced on my own for about 15 years, and then 3 years with him, and I thank y'all for electing me to the city council. I'm running for re-election because I've learned a lot, and I'm proud of my record. I have a record of bringing people together and coming to common sense solutions to problems. I believe I've learned the difficult task of protecting the environment and yet promoting some economic development. I had the pleasure of bringing forth the Waller Creek Development Project, which I'm glad is taking 1 million square feet out of the floodplain and will develop the rest of downtown. I've learned that City Council is not about land use, it's all about land use and balancing the interests of groups like yours against the interests of the entire city. It's about downtown and protecting that economic engine. It's about tourism and still promoting Austin as a wonderful place to come. It is also about having the best municipally owned utility and also keeping up with our infrastructure. Austin is a special place, and we all wanted to come here and call it home, and we come here from different places, but I'm proud to be your city council member, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you both. Mr. Osemene, we're going to start with you. Both the APD Community Liaison and the APD District Representative programs are extremely valuable to neighborhoods. They provide mechanisms for citizens to collaborate with the city and APD to prevent crime and to identify and address systemic causes of crime in the community. The APD Community Liaison Unit has been targeted for dismantling, and the District Representatives Program may be threatened with reductions as well. In this time of economic hardship when crime rates are likely to increase, does it make sense to you to try to end or diminish these programs? Will you commit to protect these programs from budget cuts?
Absolutely. I will protect every APD program we have right now. Let me add to this story. I live in this city. I know some of the high crime areas in this city. But this is what you do. We should have what I call community policing. Encourage police officers to live in the neighborhood. It helps a lot. How many of you here know who is the police officer in your area? Probably not. Only one hand or two. But if we increase that, encourage them to live in the community, I promise you crime rate will reduce. Because a lot of the police officers live outside the city of Austin, and they drive in here and drive out. It does not make sense. But it takes someone with that vision to encourage that. And also, I would promote and make sure we don't cut the budget of APD, the budget. Right now, the city council is thinking about everybody has to sacrifice. They have to slash every program the APD has. It does not make sense. If you want to sacrifice, let's start from the top. City council member have to take a salary cut. Thank you.
Austin has been allocated $1.7 million in federal stimulus funds through the Justice Assistance Grant Program to prevent and control crime and improve the criminal justice system. The funds may be used for a broad range of activities, including to put more officers on the streets, to purchase additional tools and equipment necessary to fight crime, and to fund various programs, including drug treatment and enforcement. How do you think these funds should best be used to address Austin's rising crime rate?
I appreciate the question. This is where I talk about the common sense approach of Laura Morrison. We need it. That's why I'm running for City Council. If we can apply her common sense to some of these issues, we will have some of this problem. You listen to the community. You go to the community and find out what the problems are. We give more resources to those that need to have a treatment facility in the city of Austin, where we can help those that have some drug issues and those that have mental issues. But the city council is not doing enough. What you see is lobbyists taking over the city hall. Who speaks for you? I am the people's candidate. I will represent your interest. I tell my students every week, if government does not function, does not represent your interest, don't be emotional about it. Vote them out. Bring somebody else in. That is why I always admire Laura Morris and Randy Shea, because they work for the community. They know what it's all about.
I'm going to stop you and give you 10 seconds to more specifically address how you would use federal stimulus funds to address rising crime rates.
I will channel some of the money to APD, Austin Police Department. The crime, the gang, let me be honest with you, right now in the next 10 years, the gang activity in the city of Austin is going to grow.
Do you support the current at-large city council structure, or would you support changing the city government structure to single-member districts only, or a combination of single-member and at-large districts?
I support both. I support single-member district. I also support at-large. What we can do is this. We can say, you know what, let's have a hybrid system. I like some areas to be represented in the city, but if we have a single-member district, you have more power. And think about it. Neighborhood association will have a lot of say in what goes on in your community. If you don't like your council member, you can vote them out. Accountability will be there. The cost for running the election will be reduced. The lobbyist interest will be reduced. Then you have a say. You know who represents you. Right now, go to the city hall. You have about 6 council members. You talk to every 6 of them working on one issue. It does not make sense. You don't have to go to Yale or Harvard to figure this out. If I elect you from Allendale Neighborhood Association or Gracie Woods Neighborhood Association, if I have a problem, I live in that community, I come to you, a councilman or council lady. We have a problem in this neighborhood. How do we address that? So I will support a single-member district structure by giving back power to the people so they can address their own common issues.
The largest employers in Austin, aside from small businesses taken collectively, are government entities such as state government, the University of Texas, and AISD. What can you do as a council member to improve the city's partnership with other levels of government, especially our state legislative delegation?
This is what I said. It's what we call consolidation of services. Right here in Travis County, we have different departments. In the city of Austin, we have different departments. But what you do, you look at the city. See what I call comparative cost advantage. we can work with the state, see if it's cheaper for the state to provide those services or the Travis County to provide those services, then we consolidate. That will help us a lot to improve our efficiency and save money. But right now, I can give many examples. We spend money on some projects in this city that will cost us less if we consolidate with Travis County to provide the same services to citizens of Austin. And also, I will appoint an oversight committee that will be a watchdog to make sure that if Travis County is working with us or the state, to make sure they provide those services, and if not, we can say no. We can take over those services again and start working on it. So we will have to work with Travis County and the state in actually consolidation of agencies and some services in this city that will help to save us a lot of money instead of some of these wasteful spendings we're having right now in the city.
You indicate that you would stick with the 30-year-old Austin Tomorrow plan, but you support improving the plan. Have you read that plan? What parts of the plan would you improve?
That's a very good question. Let me talk about the transportation issue here. Like, you know, the 30-year plan.
First tell us if you've read the plan.
Yes, I read the plan. Yes, I read the plan. Let's talk about the infrastructure we have in this city. Austin is growing. The infrastructure may not be able to support the population. But what do you do? If you have a 30-year plan, it's like a fixed rate. We are more in a box. That's why I say I would like to improve it and probably review it to make a 10-year plan where every 10 years we review where we are and see how we can adjust. We cannot have the same facilities we have 30 years ago to support the population of today. So what I will do is put a clause on this new plan we're going to have, because right now you hear a lot about comprehensive plan. I will not support a comprehensive plan right now. I will support a neighborhood plan right now. From a neighborhood plan, we can get a comprehensive plan. Because who is going to be a member of the comprehensive plan? They may not represent your interest. It will be the same law base that will go and write the environmental laws, the zoning laws, and force it on to you. So I will support a neighborhood plan before I support a comprehensive plan.
This will be our last question. On growth management, you said we cannot depend on the same resources to sustain population increase. Tell us what you meant.
Simple. This is where common sense or law and moral comes into play. Think about it. If the population of Austin today is, let's say, 10,000, 30 years from now it's going to be 50,000. Common sense. The resources of today will not support the resources. What's going to happen in the next 30 years. So we have to adapt. It's adaptability. How do you work on that? That is why I need your support to send me to the city council so I can sit down with Laura Morrison and Randy Shea and work on this issue. Not play politics with it, not listen to the lobbyists, and work for the people. So my argument is, if you vote for me and support me in this campaign, I promise you one thing, I will work for you. After 3 years, if I don't perform, vote me out, hold me accountable. We cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. That's insanity. So please, be very objective. I need your support. I know it's tough for some of you to make that decision, but think about it when you go home tonight. It's about the future. It's not about me. It's not about Councilmember Cole. It's about the future.
Thank you. We'll ask you the same first question. Both the APD Community Liaison and the APD District Representative programs are extremely valuable to neighborhoods. They provide mechanisms for citizens to collaborate with the city and APD to prevent and reduce crime and to identify and address systemic causes of crime in the community. The APD Community Liaison Unit has been targeted for dismantling, and the District Representative Program may be threatened with reductions as well. In this time of economic hardship, when the crime rates are likely to increase, does it make sense to you to try to end or diminish these programs, or will you commit to protect these programs from budget cuts?
I think it's fair to say that I have been one of, if not the most, the defender of the police department. They came forward with $8.1 million worth of cuts on their own that we didn't have to make, or that the city manager didn't have to twist any arms about. The answer is yes to your question, that I would support maintaining both of those programs.
Thank you. Austin has been allocated $1.7 million in federal stimulus funds through the Justice Assistance Grant Program to prevent and control crime and improve the criminal justice system. The funds may be used for a broad range of activities, including to put more officers on the streets, to purchase additional tools and equipment necessary to fight crime, and to fund various programs, including drug treatment and enforcement. How do you think these funds could best be used to address Austin's rising crime rate?
Oh, well, I mean, drug treatment and enforcement is way up there. We have tons of problems with our homeless population. The community liaison program that we just talked about, I think, should be restored and funded through those programs. APD does such good work in our neighborhood. I think more community policing would be good. There's just so many answers to that. Besides community policing, drug treatment, community liaisons, those would be my top priorities.
Do you have any, in the time you have left, do you have any specific ideas about how you want to use the stimulus funds?
Oh, wow. I would like to use the stimulus fund primarily for the programs that I just told you I would protect, community policing and the liaison. I mean, I think that's number one for our neighborhoods. And, and I'll just add to the African American community, we are very, very strong on crime and the problems that crime has caused in our neighborhoods. So it's very easy for me to support the police department and a lot of the programs that they stand for.
Right. You wrote that you expect Austin's ETJ to expand to the east and that you do not want to actively prohibit or limit future population density. What is your vision for the eastward expansion of Austin's ETJ, and on what information do you base that vision of eastward growth?
Well, I think the Austin Tomorrow plan is kind of modeled or has elements from the Envision Central Texas plan or work that they did. And I think we made a decision, and I think we've made this decision that we're going to try to keep growth from over the aquifer and move that growth east. And as we try to move that growth east into the desired development zone, we have to input the infrastructure there. And so I would look to ways that we can put that infrastructure, because I think that's the biggest impediment, especially when you talk about way east off of 130.
You say that the city must plan for the future of Austin and our water needs. Do you believe we should proceed with the construction of the water treatment plant number 4 at this time? If so, would you support a delay in the construction of capacity beyond the initial 50 million gallons a day until additional studies can be done so that the effects of water conservation efforts can be factored in?
I have to tell you, I am absolutely shocked. I sat on the Water Conservation Committee that was headed by Councilmember Lee Leffingwell, and I am shocked and amazed at how much people have taken seriously water conservation and how much water we have consumed. I still am sitting at the place, and this could very well change, where I think that our growth is still too much to justify stopping water treatment plant 4, and that we are ultimately going to need it.
How does, is that, you do support moving forward with it at this time?
Yes.
Okay. How does the water treatment plant number 4 fit with your vision of the city expanding eastward?
Well, I mean, water is probably our most precious resource, and I don't believe that the groundwater options that have been put forth, some of which I've heard, are really sustainable for East Austin, because we want to have fresh water for East Austin also. So I think that we have to provide the water as we go ahead with the growth for not only West Austin, but also East Austin.
Just real quick, 10 seconds. Do you think that the water treatment plant number 4 is going to help East Austin as opposed to West Austin?
Well, see, I don't. Ulrich David's water treatment plant 4, I think that it's going to help all of Austin, both East and West Austin.
Okay, thank you. In response to our question about an assessment tool for property values, you said that we need the property tax value of our city to increase if we are to maintain the most basic of city services. If this is so important to the future of our city, why shouldn't we collect all the data possible in an assessment tool to inform our decisions?
I'm not against assessment of data. We get accused all the time of, not doing enough and then analyzing and planning to death. And I think that's a hard balance to actually strike. But, we want parks, we want roads, we want libraries, and so as we grow, assessed values have continued to grow. I mean, one self-correcting mechanism in all this is going to be the downturn, because as property values go down, we won't be able to keep the same property tax revenue as we've had before, if we don't increase our rates, and we have not been doing that. We've actually been decreasing our rates, and your taxes have gone up simply because the appraised values have gone up. I think we have adequate tools to try to figure that out, but more tools, of course, are always good. I'm not against them. I'm not a big advocate.
And a question about commercial and VMU creep into our established single-family neighborhoods. You state that you believe the market will help dictate the most desirable locations for commercial zoning. Do you really support rezoning properties from residential to commercial based on potential profitability? Where would the line be drawn for maintaining established residential neighborhoods versus promoting larger commercial corridors?
Well, I think we should have our commercial development along our commercial corridors. And I'm actually trying to figure out if this is the same question where you ask about rezoning for code enforcement, which I don't support for...
There's a question about commercial and VMU creep into our single-family neighborhoods.
Okay. VMU has been one of the biggest hurdles that I've faced in the zoning world at 4 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. I have probably voted, I'm sure, overwhelmingly with the neighborhoods who wanted to opt out certain properties because they felt like they were too commercial or they didn't want the residential component or because it's shallow lots. I support the VMU and I support having it along the core transit corridors, but I do think that modifications by the neighborhood have been warranted.
You say that you'd like to guarantee minority representation on the City Council and would support a revision of the current system after the 2010 census results. What do you have in mind as a revision to the current system?
Well, you guys know that we just went through the process of having every particular council member name a board and commission and cutting the boards and commissions by and large, except for a few exceptions, down to actually 7 boards and commissions. And I don't have a proposal for an ordinance or a mandate to create, to say, you know, you have to have a Hispanic representative or you have to have an African American representative. But I do think that should be encouraged, especially geographic dispersion.
You stated that you support the goals in the current Waterfront Overlay Task Force report. The report clearly states that the sub-district maximum height limit should be reinstated and that they should supersede any other provisions of the Land Development Code. If there were another remedy for council to grant additional height, would you support code specifying that PUD districts and planned development area combining districts must adhere to the maximum height limits? The Lakeshore sub-district of the Waterfront Overlay had a maximum height of 60 feet. With the South Shore District PUD, there is opportunity to push additional heights to portions of the PUD that are outside the Waterfront Overlay. Will you oppose granting heights above 60 feet for the portion of the South Shore District PUD that is in the Lakeshore Subdistrict of the Waterfront Overlay?
I was actually one of the sponsors of the original Waterfront Overlay Task Force. And I think we have a real dilemma when we talk about our waterfront because we have particular neighborhoods along the waterfront that have particular interest, and then we have the whole city to think about. I don't know how I would vote on that issue. It hasn't come before us. I would really like to hear the Planning Commission recommendations before I make a commitment.
How would you plan and pay for an expansion of Austin's infrastructure into the areas east of Austin? How would you balance that cost with the need to improve and repair infrastructure within the urban core?
Well, you know, I actually think of east of Austin and the urban core as not being too far apart, especially as we grow. But our infrastructure needs are just off the charts. I would support a bond election. And as you probably know, the city manager has proposed the Accelerate Austin program where our 2006 bond election would actually start putting in streets and roads and sidewalks quicker. And so that was a citywide effort. I wasn't on the council when the details of that bond election were put forth, but I understand that it is a citywide effort, and I know that there are sidewalks and some infrastructure needs for East Austin scheduled for that, and I fully support that.
Okay, the basis for that question was your comment that you expected Austin's ETJ to expand to the east. So then the next question is, how do you expect to pay for infrastructure there that is not there at this time?
I currently think we're going to have some help from the legislature, and we, have a very thick legislative program, and we've kind of got the peace dividend from the environmental wars that we had before. But the infrastructure needs are just so great, and we just can't afford to put them in. I'm actually looking at a proposal that's not a PUD, that's not a MUD, but it puts kind of the two of those things together, trying to come up with sort of a special district where the developer pays the initial cost. And then over time, as the debt decreases, we actually get to annex the property. And I think we're going to need creative tools like that. We actually tried that last year with the 130 bill that barely did not pass, and we had Kirk Watson to try to help us to do that. But we're going to have help from the legislature. Well, when I talk about the diversity of Austin, of course, I'm talking about ethnic diversity, but I'm also talking about geographic diversity, because I just think you have to have it. I mean, we've made a lot of mistakes in the past just by listening to just a few individuals try to dictate where the city is going and not being more inclusive. And I think we've moved past that. I think when we do try to make plans for the future now, we try to reach out to other stakeholders, and we will have to do that this time.
This is a follow-up. Do you believe neighborhood plans reflect the diversity of Austin? 15 seconds.
Yes.
What is the basis for your decision to continue making payments to Simon Properties? Do you think the city is legally obligated to make the prescribed payments to them?
Yes, I think the city is legally required to continue making the payments.
Is that based on your own personal opinion, or is that the advice of the city attorney?
That's the advice of the city attorney.
And your opinion is the same?
Yes.
Do you believe the city attorney should report to the city manager or to the city council? If your answer is the city manager, how would you ensure that city legal does not act in opposition to the will of elected officials?
This question about who the few people, the city clerk, the city auditor, the city attorney, there's so few people that actually report to council. But I think that from my experience, the things that we want done or information that we try to get, staff tries to be responsive to that. I worked for the Texas Municipal League in the past, and when the city attorney actually reported to the city council, in this case, it was always kind of a 4-3 faction deal going on that made it very, very, very political and very difficult to get things done. So the city manager tended to serve as somewhat of a buffer for that. So I tend to believe, based on my experience in the past outside of city council, that the city attorney should continue to report to the city manager. But at no time should anyone try to thwart the will of council, and I think we do a good job of making that known.
Our time is up. Thank you both very much.
Thank you. We'll take a brief break, and then we'll come back and hear from our place one candidate.